Stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Audience introductions. There's nobody here. So, move to number 2, approval of agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Is there a race?
No. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Delegation of visitors, again, discussed this tonight. So we'll move to item 4, items for board action, playground grant.
So as we discussed last week, looking at the breakdown, and we have the total price, the breakdown price were in the emails, and then this one was sent over earlier today by Martha, because I had asked about what if we did not have the GT Wave on there at first, if that was an option as well, and what that would look like, and how would that impact the all-purpose surfacing and the installation price. We got an updated installation price from the vendor the other day, not from her, but a third party that they use all the time. And so she got that on Friday, but she talked with me about it more today because I called her and said, how is that working? I did talk with her about that earlier. I know a couple of you were aware of that, but they put that on there. And then it would reduce the price on the installation by 20 grand. It would reduce the price by 20 grand for that all-purpose surfacing and the equipment. So those are the two that I had on there because that one was newer. We just got it today. So that way you had that option as well. I talked a little bit with Robin Stout just via text, making sure on the, about how old the equipment was, et cetera. She said she was still the principal at that time, it was under Sunders.
Right.
That would put it about 20 years ago. And just looking at where we are, that is coming down on around the first of the year because of where the building's going. So I was talking about with Amber earlier, where do we go from here? And that's what we're looking at is what does it look like moving forward? Because we have to have something in place as far as a playground for the kids for next year. So funding wise, that was another piece that was talked about over the last couple of years. We've budgeted for some big ticket items, so we had construction on the, on the horizon, and that we're going through the middle of it. And so this year we had 115 set aside, with 15 being sped, 100 being from the general fund. And then we had saved the items from last year because we weren't ready to proceed with that, which was 100,000 from the gym floor that we didn't need to use because we were able to talk them into utilizing the seismic funds for that. And then 100,000 from last year's general fund budget that we had set aside for playground. So total right now in our account, we have 315,000 that was earmarked for this project for this year, at the end of last year. And then we've been doing a large project pretty much every year. And so Cindy and I met on Friday. And we feel like, looking at budget items for this next year, we don't know what the budget is going to be. We get that. But with some of the stuff we've done in recent years and stuff that we already have set aside, we feel like the 115, especially 15 being out of sped and 100 being out of our projects that we do, that we think that that's a doable number, and that would put us at 430. And that's not even including if we stop, if we limited some of our spending that we do at an earlier time than we do in normal years. If we got something behind, if we looked at cutting off funding, or not funding, but cutting off some of our purchases sooner, like in February or March, that would definitely give us some additional funds that way too. If there's an emergency, we would buy that, but some of the other purchases we could limit as well. So we felt pretty comfortable with that number.
We might want to do that anyway with construction.
Yeah, we get that. Yeah. So that's where we were.
Just a question on the
Yeah.
installation. What does that include? Is that installation of the surfacing
So that's all
Or-
the equipment. The surfacing is that surface
So that
price, that
includes
includes the installation. of that,
Okay, so that is installation of just the
yeah.
plate
Equipment,
structure or
plate
all of it?
structure. All the
All of it, all of the
pieces
stuff. Okay,
for that, for the completed set. Without the GT Wave, which was again, the one that had the slide in the middle with the ropes.
Mhm.
It was kind of like that ladybug in my eyes. That, well, it does kind of look like
It
that to
does.
me, but,
No, because they- yeah.
but there's a lot of concrete work and footing work. We even looked at, could we do those items now and just do the padding around that? But you can't, because the padding has to go up to the bar itself. We were hoping we could sleeve it in and then just go ahead and put that in there. She said that really wouldn't work. So what we would look at doing then is possibly switch on the original document. You saw where the swings were and that GT Wave, we would pretty much switch those. So that GT Wave would go kind of where that rock wall was, if we just, if you decided to go forward with that at a later time. If we did something like this, it would give us a direction. We have it budgeted for, if we can put that 115 in there, 15 being from sped again. And then also give us a direction to go if we do have the grants, we have the final, okay, this is what we're shooting for here. We already put the money towards this. This is what we're also shooting for with the additional grants and fundraise money. I do think that there are people around here, both community members, families, former students, staff, current and former, that would like to put towards something like this project. I think that is something that they would have some ownership and some pride in. I likened it to somebody that kind of like little kids with candy bars. If you have a 15-year-old trying to do candy bars, nobody wants to buy it, but for an 8-year-old, they'll buy the candy bar for the kid. And I think a playground is something that people kind of rally behind oftentimes. But I think it's encouraging seeing the 417, knowing that if we want to shoot for something else, we can, but that puts us in a much better place. And I realize that the GT Wave is scheduled for an increase of 9% November 1st, and that would be the one downside of that, if we are going to go ahead and go forward and try to get that, but that would increase that price by about $6,000. A little bit more than that.
Yeah,
It would be closer to 75, probably.
Do you know what the square footage of this footprint would be without the GT?
Yeah, so it was about 20,000 less on the surfacing, so that would be about 900 square feet less, so it'd be about 7,000 instead of 7,900. If I'm doing my math.
What, did you ask about, you didn't ask about the lifetime of the flooring, did you?
I did.
Okay. What, like, how does this hold up? So Jenny had asked that before before the meeting. I thought it was a good question on like how long that lasts.
So in our previous meetings, we heard very favorable, favorable things, so that's one of the items we talked
Yeah.
about. So you have the pad, you have the squares, you have the pad, and then you have turf. And she really felt like of those three, the pad, the board in place is the best option. And again, that's not her company that does that, that's
Yeah.
a separate vendor. She just felt like that was the best item.
But do they give a lifetime on it? Like
I
how
can
long
find
it
out
lasts
exactly how
for?
long that lifetime is.
Yeah,
can
I mean,
actually
'cause
text you.
we're gonna have to then know if we need to like.
I'm trying to
replace it in 20
remember.
years or.
I feel like
You asked
she
that
said
question.
that, but I don't remember what her answer was.
I'm sending her a text, hopefully she'll be.
Because the other stuff didn't last as long, remember?
I remember her saying the other stuff was like 10 years, and I felt
Yeah.
like that wasn't really long
I
enough.
felt like that wasn't long enough.
Mhm.
Gosh, I should have wrote that down. We chose it because of the longevity.
Yeah,
But I,
but like, yeah.
I don't remember. That's a good question.
So I just texted her, so hopefully we'll hear back on that one for just a minute.
And then maintenance of that flooring is
I
low.
don't know.
That's the lowest one. Troy, I asked him, talked about all of them. He said of all of them, that's the easiest one. In his eyes, he definitely is not excited about cedar chips. Not excited about pea gravel. Any of those items that have the loose fill are not good. So
Neither
then
are
you're really
parents.
looking.
No,
Yeah.
they're
So those
also,
are
it's
our,
also not,
Yeah,
accessible.
I understand, yeah, definitely. So that, looking at those items, those are the three that are going to make it less maintenance and then
Yeah.
also accessible and safer.
And the 159,000, that's just for the scoring, that doesn't include the excavation and all that other work. that has to
Yeah,
be
now
done.
the excavation is something that, our person that's doing the excavation during our project,
Yeah, I know that we
So that-
talked about,
yeah,
that
and already we
we're
look at
keeping the
doing
cost
that.
down. but
Yeah.
I just didn't know if that was included in that.
Yeah,
So we're gonna be on top of that.
If we had any,
If
yeah.
we had any,
So I would assume some gravel would be
Right.
on that.
Yeah, I would,
Yeah.
I would
We
probably
need to
budget
buy-
like 5 or 10,000.
Yeah.
At least.
we'll need to find material and stuff.
That's kind of where we were. I didn't know what else you really wanted. I think that, again, one of the advantages, I mean, don't get me wrong, if we had our way, we'd like to be able to do everything up front, but we understand that that's not probably feasible right now, and we get that. And if we had that as a goal, and that was something that we were striving for, if we, going forward with grants, and we have, okay, now we have all the renderings, now we have it with the CAD, now we have this in place, the 208,000 for the equipment, that's well below what we already have set aside, so over $100,000 less than what we currently have. If all crap broke loose, and I'm not saying this is the way we want to go, worst comes to worst, we at least have an option for installation and Cedar Chips already paid for. I'm not saying again, that's the route we want to go, but I'm just saying worst comes to worst, that's already paid for with what we currently have. Cedar Chips, although I didn't price it out, I can imagine it'd be more than 20 or 30,000 for Cedar Chips in the place. So
That's not even an option.
I get that. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that
I
that's.
don't-
Sorry if I said it differently than you. I'm just saying worst case scenario.
Right, but that's the problem when you don't have, all the money to pay for it. It's
Yeah.
Counting on luck to get it done. Otherwise, we have a bunch of parts and pieces for
Yeah.
the play structure that we can
And,
put
and
together.
with that, it wouldn't be. With the 208, we have 315. That would also pay for the installation. That'd give us 258. If you put 10,000, like you said, for some of the other stuff for rock, then you're looking at 268, and we already have 315. And that's not even including anything that we budget for next year. Or big projects.
So really, in reality, removing the GT wave is what,
Yeah, that was,
if we decide to move forward with fundraising and other things, that is what could be added if we were successful in the fundraising. But without the GT wave, right, and without the GT wave, we then are in a better place to have everything covered.
so we, example, Aaron just got the $5,000 grant for SPED that can go towards this. That's not on there. We just got the commitment from the family with the church out of Amity. That was $100 a month for the next 12 months. That's $1,200, just say 1,000. So I mean, we're already getting some money that was coming in that we can already earmark for this as well, that we didn't have on there yet. So that can go towards that grant and fundraising pool that we're talking about.
But we can't do, so if we have the GT wave later, and then we have $20,000 to $30,000 in surfacing costs on top of that.
It'd be about 20,000, yeah, 20,000 in surfacing costs, she said. She did give me that number this afternoon because I asked for that number. So altogether, it would be about 120 for that, Brian. You're looking at 80,000 plus the 20 for the install, plus the 20 for the servicing. And so that's why you see a reduction of 118.
Right.
So if we use the 115, like the next fiscal year, are there any needs that we wouldn't be doing? That makes sense, like,
Yeah, well, we just got, between the seismic that we just did and what we did a couple years ago, we have our roofing problem issue, any of those issues done.
Jim Ford's done.
The electrical is all being done finally. Greenhouse, we just got everything hooked up. And then the guy from cyber nerds, Corey from Cyber Nerds, I know the brake team, is coming to set the panel up and hooking everything, making sure it's all set to go, but that'll be water, gas, everything. So that's all ready to go. Barn is done unless we wanted to add a little bit of electricity, but that wouldn't be much because we just run it. Other than that, I think we have most of those items
Our gym floor, which was one of the items, is done.
done.
And then the electrical, so we can get our welders going, and we're just waiting on that.
Yeah.
But that's already paid for.
Yeah, it's a project.
The flooring in high school. Right.
We're in high school, but the reality is we can make do with the flooring in high school. I think that the
But we're not
Playground.
talking about touching our budget fund for our facility. We'll
no,
still
I'm-
have his budget.
so I can't think of any flurry needs that we have for that.
Because it does make me uncomfortable. I'll just say, I'm uncomfortable like allocating money before budget success. Just in terms like budget success. It makes me uneasy not knowing what next year might bring. And that we don't have your budget allocations from this year.
And that's a valid point, and I'm not saying it's not. I know we do have, our guess is we would have over 600,000 of carryover at the end of this year. We'll have, we traditionally have come in above where we set that, projection, and I anticipate that we'll do that again this coming year, obviously. And, not that we want to tap into that, but I know that, we have some of that available if we needed to. But if I think we're gonna do a playground, this is the time, obviously, to do it. But again, trying to be leveled in the approach of,
Yeah.
okay, we want the Cadillac, right? The thing I would say, we want the Cadillac, but we're doing the Chevy. It's a really nice Chevy, but we know that we can always upgrade and get a little extra pieces here as a big piece afterwards. And that would be what we're pushing for.
Well-
With the vision.
7 of these grants, I'm hoping to at least get 2 or 3 of them will get us close to that, because they'll all be awarded in the spring, so.
And I know Aaron was also working on one for maps. Where they thought we were in Yamhill County.
I know.
At first on that. But,
I know, and I'm meeting with the Lowe's manager about the toolbox grant, because the school isn't in Yamhill County. It's gotta be in one of the counties that a Lowe's resides in.
But can it serve
But they
students
said that
from?
because our students serve, so, like, there's just a lot of things with that grant that I'll have to include.
Right.
I was talking to Cindy, I gotta get with her and the gals in the office, because you have to provide a lot of things that show what services will be met for education on the playground and how many community members or kids might be impacted from Yamhill County.
Right.
It's just, you never know. And it's not, that one's not a big one, it's only 2,000, but every little bit helps. The goal is to just go after all these grants, and I'd like to set the fundraising, but I wasn't really comfortable going after the fundraising after the last board meeting, so I was waiting for tonight to start the fundraising, and by going after these grants, like most of them award in the spring. 2 of the big ones, the Hilton Contribution for Education and Play and Peaceful Playgrounds awards next year. Those are kind of far out, but they're big ones, 15,000 and 30,000. They're worth going after.
so the ones that do happen in the spring, that's always something that if we can manage to get close to that, then we can always look at it again in the spring and then see, is that something that we can go ahead and move forward with and do at that time? And then reassess at that point, and then when they come in July to put the stuff in, then we can look at admin at that time if we need. Well, yes,
So,
I mean, we would know in the late
in
spring.
late
what
spring,
we're looking
right,
at.
budget time.
Probably. Katie, correct me if I'm wrong, traditionally that budget's usually one of the first ones that they hammer out.
Yeah, but it'll still be like,
Yeah.
probably late May, early June.
Well, for what? Say that again, Keith.
the K-12 budget. Sometimes they get to it earlier, but
And we won't be able to tackle the playground until after the 1st of July.
Yeah, they're not done.
No.
They plan on pulling out July 10th.
Right.
So what we tentatively had scheduled was July 31st in case we had any type of delays. That would give us 3 weeks of delay time and still get us done about a week and a half before school starts. Now, we could go a little earlier, to go to 24th. But I would want to make sure with Kyle and see what we would work. But that would be after our new budget starts.
I'm just saying, we'll know a lot better by then what our footprint will look like and how much space we'll have.
Where's all this fall into, like, getting free bids, because we do that for stuff
So
with much less.
that's why they usually go with, I mean, most cities, most schools end up with game time because they have an agreement.
It's one of the
Okay, so they have an agreement.
Yeah,
That's why we don't.
yeah, like Dayton went with them.
Put it out.
Right. It's through the state and it's got the scholarship, the grant, I mean.
And we were looking at it, before we were looking at an outfit out of Nebraska, actually, Brian, and their grant made it so they were less than that company, because that company was less before, because, you know, we're seeing 237 less. But with their grant, it made it less. We didn't have to fly somebody out from Nebraska.
But it was the cheapest one at the time that we could
It was at
find
the
and then this.
Option without the GTA. If these things have to fundraise for what the difference would be between grants and fundraising. With the GTA, it just adds so much more.
The only thing we have to pay for right now is people.
Correct.
How long is the quote good on?
Don't know. I have the quote, but I have the, you know, proposed contract. We wanted to lock them in for a date, but I don't have, you know, there's no terms on how long it was. And I can ask Martha tomorrow. I don't want to keep.
No, I know. Yeah, I just know how quick stuff goes up.
We
Yeah.
can, especially during the summer rush.
Um,
And dates get pushed out.
Mm-hmm.
We're uncomfortable spending money that we have.
Yeah.
And not overspending. And like right now, yeah, we have enough for the equipment. We don't have enough for the.
So I would,
wiring on top of that.
I would say if we waited until May or June when our budget was done, yeah, we wouldn't be able to do that until. I don't see us being able to. I mean, we're not gonna be able to get something in July if we approve it in June. So, it wouldn't work out.
okay, I have one other question.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any type of assessment on this, but do they do an assessment on like how many children can be active on this number of, so what are we looking at with this makeup?
We asked for them to make sure that we can have our kids, about 150 kids, that could be active during this time.
Okay.
And they said yes.
But that's including the GTO. So
That
we,
was probably included in G2A, but
it definitely was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it would be 125 probably. Yeah,
We didn't specifically ask,
Yeah, we
but
didn't
it would
ask
be
about it.
minus. So this was created for 150 kids to play at one time and be active.
You had mentioned something about if we're not ready and there were certain criteria that need to be met. But if we drop this GTA, are we going to get some grants?
It definitely reduces a lot, however, there's enough climbing and there's enough accessibility, that I think that we're still okay. It's the GT Wave definitely adds because of the climbing device in the middle of it and how much climbing it can offer. It definitely adds, like, for the CVS Caremark children's playground. You have to be able to show how many kids can play on the playground in physical active play, and then you have to show how many kids can play on the playground at one time and be able-bodied, non-able-bodied playing with able-bodied. So it's a ratio. So taking the GT Wave out might drop that ratio considerably, but I still think it would be there's a lot on there, right? There's a lot. But I still feel like, especially since we added that slide, the double
For
slide.
that, and because we have it's with the merry-go-round and seesaw.
Right.
Obviously, it's a different name, but
Those
they're
are,
very accessible.
If you look in your packet, there should be the ones that are on here. You can see the ones that have the ADA symbol, there's wheelchair symbol. So you have the swing, you have the teeter totter, you have the merry-go-rounds. Interesting enough, the big saucer swing doesn't have that, but
doesn't have it.
that's weird to me. I guess you don't really put a wheelchair in that, but that's one of the pieces that you see a lot of students with disabilities, like at the Blue Park and the Finville. That's what you see a lot of kids use, is that piece. The Tiger Swing obviously is not, but you have the different areas with the ramps that are located, or you can see the different wheelchair symbols there as well. So it's still have a lot of people.
The one grant I will tell you, I think we would definitely lose going after, and it's a long shot, and I don't think we'd get it anyways, is the Christopher Reed grant, but I still gonna try. But that one, I don't even know if with the GT Wave, if we have enough accessibility on the playground. But still worth a try. Sure. And I think we've done a really good job to meet all those 7 points of education for PTOT and adaptive play and quiet play. I think we have enough for almost all the grants I'd like to go after.
Let's continue to need the PE minutes.
And the PE minutes. Which would put us in the running even for the Nike grant. It's just such a big grant to go after. You can get small pieces of it though. It does one big award and then they do a couple of small ones like $1,500 to $3,500, which is what I would try to go after. But it was like one of the longest applications too. It was like 30-some pages. And I did a 30-some page grant one time with Robin for the preschool, and that about killed it. Huh?
That might be the law of diminishing returns on that.
Yeah, I just don't know that I mean, obviously, if I get all the other ones done, Malpass is fine, you guys can teach at it, the ones I'm going after. But if I get all the ones that we want to go after, if we can get all those done between, the 5 of us and whoever else I can get to help with grant writing, I mean, anybody who's willing to like review and look over it, I'd appreciate it. But if we can get all those, then sure, I'll go after the longer ones that take more time. I mean, why not if I have time?
A lot of it, yeah, if you see cutting through things.
From the
Yeah,
previous
right,
ones, right?
If Warehouser's on the list, let me know if you apply for that one, because that one you can make some phone calls. And know that
I
people
don't even
on
have
our
that
list.
on my list, but
But, yeah, I'd have it on, they do cut that, I would ask them for 10,000.
okay, I'll add them to our list. The other one that somebody told me about just this afternoon after 2:00, a girlfriend of mine that's an HR manager for Hampton, she told me they do small grants too.
Yeah, thank you. Lots of people that.
Yeah, she called me and
So
told
when
me
you do
that.
that, let me know.
Okay, so I will add those to my list.
Are there any accounting firms that we know that
There was one at Salem Hospital, but they kind of discouraged me when I called her.
I guess where I'm still at a little bit is all the grants and stuff are great, but we don't have them as all, well, we hope we get them, we're gonna apply for them. And we don't have the money to do this. And like in hand right now to prove stuff, and that's where my holdup is that we don't. We're counting on other things to make this possible.
So one thing that we discussed during budget time, this is different, but it's something that we discussed. If we were going to move forward with getting the, look at buying a corner lot, we had 535,000, I believe. I'm not saying again that we want to tap into that. But I'm saying that we did say that we could use 80, up to 80 of that towards that. We'd have to do the budget committee that together and do that. But that,
We wouldn't have to, but we should.
yeah, but I'm just saying that contingency wise, at some point we would have to figure out the surfacing that costs the money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not so much just the playground stuff, it's the surfacing. And so we have to decide if we're gonna support that, because again, if we're waiting until June to do it, again, I mean, we would just put off installing the playground until, I would assume November or so. I don't know for sure how long that would take. I could ask. If you're willing to do it, that's fine. But that would be the other piece. And if that's the direction the board wants to go to get the playground done, and if that makes you guys feel more comfortable, we figure it out. Because that, I don't want that to be the impediment to us being able to move forward and put in an amazing playground for all our kids. If that's gonna be something that people have more comfort with, then let's do that.
Yeah, if we don't have anything, I mean, that 80,000 is just.
It's in there. yeah.
It's in there. Yeah, we just didn't.
No, again, that's our savings account though. I mean, it's not like we want to spend that.
Right. But we were allocating that for something else already.
Yeah.
That isn't gonna happen,
Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there too.
So if you added that 80,000, and then what you have?
That's
Mhm.
395.
395, and you have 361.
395.
Need 417.
You tell me you want me to come up with 20,000 more, because I can do that.
Well, I'll just ask kind of the questions like how many kids can play at one time on like the seesaw? Is it 4?
5.
5? I mean, just kind of looking at what are the other big ticket items on here, and the same with the whirl too. I mean, those are the two next most expensive things.
We get rid of those. We just took away most of our inclusive activity, and we won't be able to go after the grants. And those aren't things you could add later.
The part that'd be hard is at how many different pieces of the adding 4 type stuff. About adding those pieces in and later on to do the.
so as well as the stuff that's attached to the infrastructure. I get this, the rural deal is,
There's
because they
only,
can get on that.
I mean, 3 of these pieces that are ramp.
We definitely, I mean,
So
if
you're
that's
talking
something the
about
board
the
would like,
external piece.
Cindy and I can do that tomorrow morning and go over
This leaves you up
and
to
find another 20,000, if that's something that you guys would like us to do.
3 of these.
I would like to be able to spread kids out and not just focusing on one play structure. And from the elementary perspective, November scares me. I really like seeing the kids are without a playground this year already.
Copy. Do you have other questions too?
I think it was more on like, if we could drop things to get the price down. Is really it, because I think for just kind of the community to see 400,000 is still a lot of sticker shock on it.
And I
We've
get that,
been
that would be,
planning for a $400,000 to $500,000. We talked about it all the way through our bond process. So I don't know how much of a sticker shock it would be to people who have been following.
We haven't been planning very well then, because we didn't budget it.
No,
But there
but
wasn't
see,
support in the bond process for the playground.
that was
To
in
pay
the
for it.
language though. I mean, that was part of our language, the SEL, whatever it's called,
right,
832 or whatever that form is. We just knew we weren't going to probably be able to use funds for that, but we did have it in there.
we
In
did
case
have
we decided we needed to use that. Because I think, especially once we knew the building was gonna move, we had to,
What can't be part of that?
Well, one of the things we did in that process,
the
remember,
language
Brent,
is in there.
So we could,
yeah, we could. One of the things we said too in that bond process is that we were only gonna go after the amount of money that kept people's taxes the same, not increase taxes. And that was one of the things that we talked about, is that we wanted this all-inclusive, community, large playground that encompassed all the educational pieces that we wanted to put out there. And that, should we go after more money? We went back and forth about it for a while. We decided to keep the money, the taxes the same for our taxpayers, knowing that we would need to go after grants and fundraise, and that we were gonna go after big ticket items for 3 years in a row with our budget.
Well, and when we built the middle school, we used about 400,000 to 500,000 of our own district funds that we had set aside in order to build that structure. It's kind of that same principle, same idea. You ask for some, I mean, quite honestly, and I'm trying to be, with all due respect, I pay my taxes in a different district, but, we're talking about, between the Austin, the seismic, our bond, I mean, we're talking about $9 million, just about, I think, in funds that we got for $3,035,000.
Right.
And then we're coming to the table with other money that we have saved. And so I think if anything, we're showing, we've been pretty good, darn good stewards of their money as a district by saying, we got about, altogether, including the playground, about $10 million for 3.5. It's a pretty good deal.
we do have the money.
We have the money if we wanna take it out of contingency, yeah. We have the money.
Our contingency sitting right now, you said it's 600.
Yeah.
There's another way to look at it too. You could also look at, do you put your general fund money towards a kitchen type thing and the playgrounds come out of that money that's currently inside that bond money? Because that was in the language. You could say it that way. That is a backup. That may alleviate some of the concerns that we do have money there. It may not alleviate concerns for some of you, and I get that, but it may, because that money is there. We do have that in our account.
We could, and we did talk about that at one point in time.
Not saying we don't want to do the kitchen, I'm just saying you just reshuffle the money. No one's gonna donate toward the kitchen. But
Which is why we decided to go
Yeah.
ahead and work toward the kitchen
But-
and then
in the end, it's kind of all
a
that
lot more
same money
grants.
earmarked.
for the playground.
So
So to use kind of the other funds, that would be going back to the budget committee in terms of utilizing that 80,000, is that the best route out of what we have available?
I'll double check. I don't know if we need to go back to the budget committee. I'm not saying we should or
We
shouldn't.
don't need to.
I
The
don't
board
think we
has,
necessarily have to.
the board can move it.
Yeah.
We just mentioned at our budget meeting last year that if we were going to come back and move the money, that we would consult, communicate, work with our budget committee.
And we should do that.
And I
Yeah.
think we should. I think we should. I personally, I understand and I appreciate the idea that, okay, the full money isn't already pre-saved and sitting here real visible. But the reality is that in our contingency fund, and in next year's budget. And if we wanted to tighten up the belt on some of our spending and make different choices, we have the money and we could buy all of the play structure right now and set the date for the tour in July. And we have the money. We're not taking away from planning curriculum. We're not taking away from our employees' pay. We're gonna keep our employees the same status they are right now. There's financially, there's no huge loss here. This is a very expensive ticket item, and it's one that we've been talking about as a board for quite a few years. We just knew it had to fall after the bond project. And, but we also knew that it also needed to happen pretty timely at the end of the bond project because it's building our new classrooms, our additional space for education is gonna wipe out some of our play area, a good chunk of it. And, I mean, the swings will be completely gone. What else are we gonna lose?
I think we would have the slide potentially left, like one tire swing.
We're hoping that we can salvage at least one tire swing, the tunnel that's out there,
The tunnel.
this one set of swings, and the slide. And so we've talked with Kyle about trying to salvage those again. We'd like to put it out by the modular area that's out there. If we do decide to have the preschool later on, that would be the location during games. It may be a good location. We just got to be smart about where we put that if we're thinking about games. But having it out there, if we are able to salvage those would be good places to repurpose that. And those would be age appropriate if we did decide to have a preschool later on. That's a good location for it. It wouldn't be inside the building.
I mean, if it would make the board more comfortable, we could go ahead and move the contingency fund money and have the money there to pay for the playground. And then still go after the grants and the fundraising and everything else. And when budget is all done and the grants are finished and the money comes in, then we just put back in, how do you say it? Just roll it over back into our contingency. Yes. Yeah, it would have to be by resolution. Which is okay, it's fine.
I think that's how we move stuff out of the general fund now.
But the footing part of it, or the surfacing, you don't necessarily need to make that decision tonight. I mean, it's all part of the same project. What we have to do to get that going is the pieces.
You shouldn't wait too long, because I think
No, I
you wanna
agree,
get
you wanna
that.
lock it in,
Same time.
you wanna lock it in, but I also don't wanna lose our ability to move forward possibly over just that tonight. 'Cause that, we are under the gun time-wise.
Do we need to know what we need to do to lock it in, like with them? Is there, like, pay the
You mean
full
for
amount for the surfacing?
No, we
No.
don't have to, we just have to sign the
Sign the
contract.
thing, so
Sign the
it's not even
contract.
paying for that yet to lock it in, we just
No.
have to make the decision.
And schedule it.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it looks like the full payment due at the order is just for the playground equipment itself.
Yes,
Not for all the rest.
and that got us the best, the 100%, or the 50%, 100%.
Yeah, the matching
Because
funds.
we're willing to pay for that up front. Otherwise, it was like, instead of 100% matching, it was 70% or 60%, whatever it was if we did a PO.
I would want to know before we fully commit to maybe the surfacing. I think it would be good to know if it's like 20 years. Like, when, knowing when we're gonna.
Oh, the year?
replace
Oh,
it
got
again.
it, sorry. She
No,
said
I,
things
and I don't know if
my
you're gonna
memory
have
says
it. at-
15 to 20 years, but I could be wrong.
She said,
Oh, did
I
you
did
get
get a
an answer
response,
back?
yeah.
Okay.
So she said, sorry, it was a little while ago and we were in the middle, I didn't want to interrupt. So the official warranty is 10 years, but it will last longer than that. She said 15 years. And then I said, do you just replace the top part, keep the bottom part to resurface? And resurface, she said, yes, you can do that.
Yeah,
So then you
the
just take
top
off the 1.5 inch and keep the other 3.5 inches. Or you can do something over the top to resurface. I would assume that's kind of like when you do pavement, but I don't know, I mean, it would be the same topping.
I'm sure in 10 years, you're gonna have some things to surface anyway.
Spray something on it.
Yeah.
Right, by then.
Put that here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so probably in 15 years, that's another 150,000, I bet.
Yeah.
Mhm. That would be my guess.
Well, we
And
can
that's
get
just
out in
all
front
it
of
is.
that. If it's
Yeah, we
15
know
years,
about
you
it.
just put 10,000.
Yeah, it's just like
you
knowing,
budget for it,
just
yeah.
being prepared, you know, I think it's the same.
And I think that's a doable solution.
It's cheaper than a turf football field.
Not by much.
Yeah, West Salem's resurfacing was,
I know the blue turf at that park in Richmond, I always talk about, that was 400,000 for that. It's not much bigger than what we have for our schedule.
a turf football field.
On this grassy farm, still about that. Are you all right with that?
She doesn't care.
I was told once, don't even think about it.
Yeah, is that fine?
No,
I doubt it.
no. Somebody else.
Yeah,
Clover.
I was gonna say, and some
Yeah.
clover.
and dandelions and,
Yeah.
and it's
Somebody
only less
actually,
grass.
somebody
now
actually,
than it is.
actually introduced the clover to it.
Oh.
Not me. Anybody around here.
What?
I'll tell you when. It'll be
Oh.
recorded.
Okay. I personally would really like to purchase all of the playground. That's what I would like, because we put so much time into deciding the activity and the play and the structure of the use of it for the classrooms, for the sped, and for the recess. There was a lot of planning for the different structures and their purposes. And I personally don't want to use very much of the contingency fund. I want to go after all these grants and try to raise the money, but I'm also comfortable moving the contingency fund if that makes everybody else a little bit more comfortable. I don't mind using the contingency fund for this part of the need of Perrydale right now. But that's not gonna deter me from going after everything I can find funding wise.
Well, then,
In fact, it probably might light even more of a fire under my butt, 'cause I don't wanna spend this money, the contingency money, but,
definitely not comfortable with 535.
So you want to compare it down to south
And I'll just maybe move this forward a little bit. Maybe it might die, maybe it won't. I'll move to grant game time the contract for the playground equipment. In a total of $417,862.
Second, is there any further discussion?
I guess my only comment and discussion on that would be that that's $118,000 less. And to add the GT wave and surfacing would probably amount to about 140 to 150,000. So I would prefer to do the whole project, because I think that in the long run, it's gonna save us about $35,000 to $40,000. But,
And you're talking about installation costs,
and for,
shipping.
yep, installation, shipping. But I understand if that's the direction you guys wanna go. But I'm going after the money, so I want the GT wave, so it'll just cost us more in the end, long run. But that's okay. I just feel like we have that 118,000 in, in contingency, and I'd like to get the whole project.
My question is, do we need some clarity on where the funds are coming from for the motion or?
I don't think so for now.
And that's when we get to budget committee decisions about.
What was Brian's motion?
He moved to grant, game time. Actually, do you want to say it?
Yeah, game time, the contract with playground equipment. And I don't know whether it needs to be broken down, because I don't know if game time is purchasing, for $417,000.
I think it would be a portion supporting the project because they're only a portion of it.
It's 208,137, right? for game time. And it'd probably be the entire contractor.
That's kind of what I was wondering what the motion was. It might need to say the 208, 137.60.
Yeah, but do we need to also amend it to say we want to add the entire cost of this project? Because without that, we're not approving the 417.
You want to say moving forward with the projects, from what I understand, Brian, you're saying move forward without the GT wave up front.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. Okay, so I think that's what you say, move forward with that project. And then
For a total of.
for the total of this, and then that would allow us to do the other items.
Okay.
You got all that, Naomi?
Yeah, I'll move to, move the playground project forward. And then, I guess not to exceed $417,000,
That 60 cents is important.
It is.
Please don't.
I'll second that.
And moved and seconded as amended. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
I think we should go. Motion passes. 3-2. Okay, so at this point, do you need anything else from us?
Nope.
You follow-
Tomorrow we'll talk about the other funding pieces too, and then get that to you, and then also, we'll get that ready with Martha and get the check.
Okay.
You can get that to them.
So 5, patron input. Again, we don't have them 30%. 6, board comments. Anything? Nope. So we will adjourn at 6:58.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you guys.